This video is probably going to be a lot more off-topic tangents than it is the actual tag, so this is your warning. Hi, I'm Alex, I'm 18, I read way too much YA, but today we're not going to talk about that because today we're going to talk about writing YA, because I'm hoping I can trick myself into being more accountable for my writing by talking about it with you guys. I'm not a new channel. I don't think this is even technically going to be an Authortube channel. It's probably going to be mostly a book channel, but I found that with reading and reviewing, there have been periods in my life where I've been like, I'm gonna start reviewing everything I read, and I always stop there very quickly, and this is the longest I've sustained it. It's been almost a year now, a year coming up like April, because I have this platform, as small as it may be, where I can actually, you know, talk about stuff and feel accountable. Also, side note, I do not know how to do makeup, and I tried to do like a little bit of makeup today because I love makeup. Super cool. Like, girls who wear makeup, freaking gorgeous. But when like everyone was learning how to do that, I was in that whole like, oh, I can't like anything feminine phase, and I made grave mistakes today. I think it looks like I have a black eye because the color I chose was not, can you see it? Just look like I have a black eye. It was not a good color. If you know how to use makeup, please help me. But yeah, I don't have a black eye, just a bad color. Or do I? We don't know. Maybe I fought someone. I have a dark, mysterious past. I know that's what you guys like and why. Please keep watching me. Okay, so moving into the actual video, let's do the Authortube tag. I will put the questions down below. There's so many versions of the Authortube tag. I took one randomly off the internet. I have no idea who even started this version. I'm so sorry. If you do happen to know, please let me know. So the first question is, how did you find out about Authortube? I don't even remember who I started watching because since I was in 2nd grade, I was like, I'm gonna publish a book. Haven't done it yet. But that meant that when I was like in 4th grade and I had my first computer, I was like, yes, we're gonna look up everything about publishing. I'm gonna be so ready. I'm gonna be published before I hit double digits. It just didn't happen. I am steadily approaching 20, so like 10 years after my original goal. Actually my main goal in life, this was a side tangent. I warned you I was gonna go on side tangents. I'll put like a side tangent counter on the corner. So there's this thing, I don't know if it just, I know it's also American, but I don't know if it's just a North America thing, that called Battle of the Books, which is for middle school students who you basically, it's like a trivia contest, but it's literally only about books. So they give you like a description of a book and you have to like fight the other team to answer with the title and the author of the book, which, because big nerd, that was my entire childhood. Like at one point our school had a strike, so the teacher running it like was not able to run it because all clubs were canceled. And the next year she left and another teacher came in, but I had been so prepared that I like forced the teacher to hold the club, and because of that, like, it wasn't her fault. She was so great, so wonderful, but I'd be bringing like folders and I'd looked up every single book that came out that year, all the information about them. Anyways, Battle of the Books always had a guest author come in to talk, and my childhood like dream, like where I saw my future going, was I would use a pen name. My pen name, for those, I guess I'm ruining it now, my pen name was Leah Lennis. My perfect future as a child was a map out of the books we just won, obviously, because this is like a dream, right? And they announced that the author coming up is Leah Lennis. And everyone's like, who is that? She's my favorite author. And then I stand up and I'm like, I'm Leah Lennis, because I'm 12 and I am a successful author with multiple series out, because I never had people who did standalone books. So yeah, that was a dream. That's why I started watching Authortube. Have not accomplished it yet. Okay, the next question is, what genre do you write? Only YA. It's always been YA. Even when I was like, I guess I wrote a little bit of middle grade when I was a lot younger. But even when I wasn't reading YA, I was writing YA because Authortube told me that was the bigger market, and I was like, okay, I guess I gotta pretend I know what a teenager's like. I didn't. Still don't know what a teenager's like. Mostly contemporary. I've dabbled, so small little dabbling in sci-fi when I was like a lot younger, but some of those are stories, like I will carry stories with me throughout my life and just keep like re-workshopping them and stuff because I get way too attached to all the characters, and like a few fantasy things, but they were all really low fantasy. Another small side note, a lot of my friends at certain points, I'll finish like the first act of a book, and instead of continuing with that, I'll be like, I'm gonna spend forever editing this first half and send it to my friends. So the most recent first act that I sent out was a fantasy thing, which I've since abandoned. If you were someone who so nicely read that for me and gave me feedback on that. That's not what I'm working on right now. It's contemporary. Okay, 3 is what is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and category? I already said YA is the category. I also like writing in first person, and I like writing in present tense a lot more. Every time I try writing in past tense, I'll like shift to present tense. So present tense. Sorry, another side note, because I literally don't know how makeup works. Maybe I'm allergic to it, we don't know. My eye is like watering profusely, and apparently you can tell, which is probably why I shouldn't wear makeup if you've been crying. Like, it looks so shiny. I'm not crying. I'm not. I might later in the video, but it's not happening yet. Number 4 is, are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? So, kind of weird answer, especially with my current project, because I am a pantser. I go, oh yeah, that's a weird thing to say if you don't know about Authortube. So plotters are people who like plot out their book before writing them. Pantsers are people who write like by the seat of their pants. Like they come up with everything while they write it. And I'm that, but like I think I mentioned earlier, a lot of my stories are ideas that I've had that I've just like workshopped over and over and over again. So I do have that base foundation, because I'll write like the first like 50 pages and then I'll stop, and then a year later I'll come back and I'll do it again, because I always get stuck and I always feel like I can't finish writing a book. So I'm like, oh, we have to start over, change to a different project, and then I go back to it years later and then I remember that I still can't write a book. Actually, side tangent on that, because I'm trying to stop saying that. So like I say constantly, and have said constantly since I was in middle school, like, oh, I can't finish writing a full-length novel. But that is like fully a lie. And the reason I think I can actually achieve that now, or have been able to in the past, is like I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I'm very comfortable with people knowing who I am, because a lot of the times what happens is, like, yes, I haven't written a full-length novel, but I do have a 900-page fan fiction for one of my own stories on my computer, because I, like, hi, if you're new here, I like girls. They're absolutely stunning, incredible, beautiful. Do they like me? I don't know, that's still up for debate. But that was something that I kind of, like, didn't deal with for a long time and wouldn't even, like, acknowledge it to myself. But the problem is, if you look through, you know those, like, TikTok videos where it's, like, times I should have known I was queer? That is literally all of my past writing, because every time I wanted to write romance, because I liked reading romance, and I liked reading books with the romantic element, and every time I had to write those scenes, because I was like, my character's straight, she likes a guy, I got really, really stuck. And the only times I could write it was when I was writing from a guy perspective, but then I could only write the romance scenes because I don't know how to write literally anything else from a male perspective. So what I would do instead is, like with my 900-page fanfiction for my own thing, I'd write the first few chapters, and then my brain, with that one, went, ooh, what if I write, because we love the enemies to lovers. The main antagonist was a woman, and the main character was a woman. I'm like, what if I just write a bunch of, like, what if I just write those scenes? I'll skip ahead to when they're interacting, like, 10 books down in this series. And then I just kept writing that and, like, writing cutscenes for that and stuff. Because that's what I was comfortable writing. That's what I want to be doing. I have another, like, 100,000 word, like, that one's, like, 250,000 words, I think. And then I have another like 100,000 words one where I literally did the same thing, and I started writing something and I wanted to make it sapphic, but I wouldn't let myself make it sapphic. And like the thing is, when I started those, I started the 900-page one when I was in like 4th grade, and I didn't know I was queer. I didn't know women could be queer, which I think is really funny about it. But like I have such, like, my approach to writing has changed so much, and it makes me very happy. Like, I have, one of my core memories is just sitting alone in, like, 10th grade, when at that point I was like, oops, definitely like women, but, like, hadn't told anyone else, and just opening up that 250K story, because I still add to it sometimes. It is my comfort thing. That is, when I am stressed, I just add more to that. And sitting down and having one of the characters tell the other one, like, oh, oops, I've been gay this whole time, and I've liked you this whole time, and just, like, having, and it's so weird, because I'd written queer characters before, but I hadn't written queer relationships. Like, it was always like a random queer side character. Again, probably should have known the fact that I was like randomly shoehorning in queer characters was indicative of something, but I didn't. And ever since I wrote like that one, having this character who kind of like represented my repression to me say that, I was like, wow, I can write books with women who like women in them. So yeah, that was a really long side tangent. I'm sorry. I will try to stay off of side tangents. No promises though. Especially because I feel like writing too, like coming in from less of a like queer point of view with being comfortable with myself, I'll always be like, I really like writing. But if someone's like, what are you writing about? Like, I can't, and I don't ever talk about any of my characters or stories. So now that I'm comfortable doing that, I'm gonna keep rambling. Okay, number 5 is, are you self-published, published, or yet to be? Yet to be. I mean, yeah, yet to be. Like, technically I've had like a school project published, and one of those, you know, those like scams, no offense, I feel bad saying it's a scam if you're in one of them, but where they go and they put like posters up around the schools and they're like, it's a contest, and if you win you get put in this poetry book, but you have to give us lots of money for it. I also got published in one of those where they accept everyone, and then like one school project, which I will never talk about because it was a very embarrassing school project, but yeah, I never had like a book published. And then 6 is, what publishing company, literary agent, and / or printing company are you represented by or use? If you are not published yet, what is your dream publishing house and or literary agent? Literally anyone at this point. I used to be like, I need the number keeps changing. Is it still big 5? Have more of them merged? But at this point, my goal is just to like have a manuscript finished. I will even just self-publish it, honestly, just so I can say that I've accomplished that dream, because I do that thing, I forget what the website's called, where you can send letters to your future self. So I get a few like every month that are like, are you published yet, for my 14-year-old self, and it's really bad for my self-image. 7 is, what Authortube related videos can we find on your channel? Who knows? I'm probably gonna keep like vaguely within book videos being like, this is my progress on the thing I'm writing, but I don't know. I think this is mostly going to be not a booktube, not an Authortube. So we will see. Again, I just want to like hold myself accountable for something and say that I'm working on something so that I feel obligated to continue working on the same project. 8 is, when did you start writing? I think like when I was able to start reading. Like I have little stories that I wrote in like 1st grade, and I remember I didn't know how to spell, so I'd have to every other word go and find a grown-up and ask them how to spell the words for me, and I've known since like then or 2nd grade that I was going to be a published author. But you know, still hasn't happened. Sorry, 2nd and 1st grade me. Anyways, next question is number 9. What was the first story you ever wrote? The first like story I wrote like the first time was in, I forget if it was 2nd or 3rd grade, because I think it was 3rd grade. I wrote a novel based off of the back of a McDonald's Happy Meal, because it was like novel writing game, choose an adjective and a noun like randomly, and then that's what you write about, and I got the adjective golden and the noun mountain, so I wrote a novel called The Golden Mountain. Looking back, I remember spending so much time on it. Like I would bring my little Acer computer with me everywhere. I wasn't doing anything else. Like we take short car rides and I'd be taking my little computer and sitting in the back to add to it because I was 8, and a slow typer because I was 8. But so in my brain, it was like so long. I went back and looked at it recently because I fully thought at 8, I'm like, I wrote a whole novel. It's 40 computer pages. Which, like, I'm still proud of. I'm really glad that 8-year-old me didn't have a concept of how long actual books are, because that would have really hurt her feelings. Yeah, that one was about this little girl named Alice, who was a self-insert. If I look at all of my first things, every single character's name sounds like mine. Those who forgot, my name is Alex. It's the same name. It was me. But I was 8, so I was allowed to be self-centered. Who's, like, obsessed with fairy tales, and especially this one about these mountain-dwelling fairies who live in like a mountain of gold, and this little girl goes on an adventure to the mountain fairies and they give her gold in like exchange for being their friend. Sorry, it looks like I'm crying. And then her house gets broken into by robbers and she has to go on a magical quest to get to the mountain fairies so that she can be like, I'll be your friend if you give my parents gold so we don't have to move. And it's like there's witches and frogs and I don't know, I don't remember much. I do remember that I thought like you fully had to show everything that happened to the characters. So my writing, I'd be like, she woke up at 6:52 and put on her socks. Like every little detail was there, especially I remember being really stressed because I had to be like, okay, when I had to say they go to sleep, I had to say they wake up every single time, and I just didn't have the concept for that. Now I'm better at not doing that. Oh wow, look, it's another side tangent. This video is going to be way too long. The first story I wrote and got like very, very into, I'm also going to mention, because I think a few of you people who watch this are people who are friends with me and who I have been like, hey, look at the thing I wrote, and that was called Just South of Somewhere or JSOS, because I wrote so many drafts of it that we needed to make it shorter. And honestly, I can't even really explain like what the plot's about, because it's one of those things I started writing in 3rd or 4th grade, and just until last year I was still writing drafts, and the only reason I think I've stopped is I like looking back at them, and I think they're very indicative of like me growing up, like the way the characters and the plot changes. But I think it's like a little time capsule for me, and I don't think I could ever really take that and turn it into something. So sorry if I asked you to edit a draft of that. We abandoned it. Like, on a more comedic note, part of the reason I can see like, oh, I've changed for the better when going through those is I'll use character names. They won't make sense to you, but again, I've sent so many people, because I've been rewriting this like twice a year since I was 10 for like the last almost decade. So some people out there probably know the character names. So the first incarnation of my love interest, whose name would have either been Keegan or Hayden depending on when you read the draft, was an absolute creep. And I didn't realize he was an absolute creep until I was in high school. So from 4th to 8th grade, he was doing the worst. And even I kept some of the creep aspects. So every time I reread it, I was like, how do I get around the fact that my main character is an absolute creep? Like, our main character, whose name was Farah, shows up to this new town, and she's like traveled all over the place. So she's edgy and angsty, because again, I conceived her when I was like 8 or 9. And doesn't want friends, and there's this boy at her school named Keegan/Hayden who's very energetic and very loud, and it's like a small town, and she meets him the first day because he's assigned to be like her tour guide or whatever, and then the next day at breakfast she wakes up and he's eating breakfast with her parents, and she never told him where she lived. He's just there, and she, because even 4th grade me knew that a normal person would be like, what the hell was that? She's like, what the hell was that? And he's all like, oh, you're the only new person who's moved into town for like the last year, so I just deduced where your house is. And she was like, oh, please don't do that. And then he just keeps doing it and walks her to school every morning against her will. And I thought that was romantic. At one point, they even had like a big fight. And the way he tries to make up for the big fight is by harassing her at her place of work. Where she can't run away, and I thought that was so romantic, and I'd have people who were test reading it for me who were like logical human beings who were like, hey, this is very, very creepy of you, stop it, but I wouldn't believe them until I was like 15 or 16, and I went back and I was like, oh, yikes, awful, throw it away. And even like taking out the harassment scenes, I'm like, does he even have a character beyond just like stalking this? Like, Edward Cullen wishes he could be Keegan/Hayden. Yeah, I'm not gonna say much about the harassing at work scene, because is that in my current work in progress? We don't know, but it's less creepy in this one. It's called, it'll make sense. If I ever one day publish it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. On a slightly more serious note about how it's helped me build this character, like I mentioned before, all the things I started when I was younger had a self-insert character for me. And this one, Just Out the Summer, JSOS, had a character whose name was Leah, who was a side character and was kind of, remember, my fake author name is Leah. It was me. Like, very blatantly, it was me. I was gonna publish it under the name Leah Lennon and a character named Leah in it. So I knew the whole time she was self-insert, but I remember telling myself, like, oh, she's not a self-insert, she's kind of like who I want to be. Like, she was more outgoing than me, she was louder about her interests than I was. Very cool. And the moment I found out that, like, women could like women and that was a thing, I was like, oh, Leah from Just South of Summer, she's gay. And it took me three years to put it together, that me saying that self-insert character I wrote, who's like a louder, more open version of me, she's gay, for me to be like, oh, holy crap. Like, I'm so stupid. I'm an idiot. So I love, end of tangent, I love JSOS with my whole heart. If you are someone who has ever read over it for me, thank you. It is like a little piece of my soul. Like, all of my core development happens within that story. But we're abandoning it. I'm telling myself that I'm not allowed to try to keep working on it, because it's honestly just a time dump at this point, and I don't think lots of it's salvageable. That doesn't mean like I took out that one creepy scene and it's my new thing. I'll still move scenes around. But yeah, I am telling my future me that we are not allowed to keep writing that. 10 is what authors have inspired you the most. That's a weird question, because I feel like it's not favorite authors. Also, I'm an asshole, so when I'm reading a book that's bad, I'm like, ooh, suddenly I feel inspired to write, because if this was published, then I can be published too. Which, sorry, but authors that actually inspired me. I think they're all going to be like little kid authors, like Daisy Meadows, because I wrote multiple just full up rip-offs of the Rainbow Magic books when I was younger, so her. Pseudonym Vosh, because I also wrote a bunch of rip-offs of the Secret series when I was little. Like, I don't know, just authors I liked when I was little obviously made me want to be an author, because I was like, look at them thriving. Pseudonym Vosh, I think especially. Is Daisy Meadows a pen name too? I don't know, because I knew when I was young, I'm like, I'm not publishing under my name. I'm also not publishing under Julia Lennis anymore, which is why I've said it, because I told way too many people in my life about that, so now I need a new fake name. Any suggestions, let me know. And then the final question is, do you schedule your writing sessions or simply get to writing whenever you can find the time? A little bit of both. I think before I've scheduled it and I've done like Nano and then given up like the first day I got off track of Nano, because I'm the kind of person, if I get off track with something, I'm like, oh, it's over, we're a failure now. So yeah, a little bit of both. I do get into routines and patterns, like if I write one night, I'll probably write around the same time the next night. And like, I haven't written for a week. And I have a feeling if I write for one night this week, I'm going to start writing for like another full week. You know, but that's why I don't think this will be a very good Authortube, because I'm trying to be more like lax with goals and not have strict goals, just say I'm writing something. I mentioned in my last video, I think you can see it, like the pile of papers. I am handwriting my current work in progress, because I get very in my head about like going back to check details, even though it's a first draft, and word counts and page counts. So writing by hand has kind of helped me like work around that. I want to have the hard copy version done. I said by the end of this month. I want to say by the end of March now, because again, like I don't want to feel like I'm forcing myself to write, because then I feel like I'll write something a lot crappier. So a little bit of both, kind of like very vague planning, but it's never like I have to write right now, because I want writing to feel fun. Okay, that is the end of the video. I promise this is still not a booktube. It's not an Authortube. But I just wanted to talk about writing for a bit, and I know the communities intersect a lot, so if you want to talk about writing in the comments, that would be really, really fun. I will see you next Tuesday-ish. If you wanted to, you could like, subscribe, or comment. All three just give me so much serotonin, and I really need it right now. So like, maybe I should have said I was really crying the whole time for like the pity points I missed out. But yeah. I will see you next Tuesday-ish, and until then, bye.